Hello and welcome to another episode of View from the Tilton Road, airing every week on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm Kieran, your host for this episode, and joining me I've got Dan and Jamie. Lads, thanks both for joining me on this episode. How are you doing? We all good?
Thanks. Yeah,
good,
how about
thank you.
yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, I suppose. We'll crack straight on because we don't want to waste too much time depressing ourselves all over again. A couple of games to talk about. We'll start with the Huddersfield game, point away from home. Dan, was you happy with the performance and the outcome in the end, or?
The one thing I wouldn't have taken away from them in that game is they were fighting for it. That should be guaranteed, but for some reason in recent years, it's not always been a guarantee. They wanted it, but it turned out to be one of those typical games of two teams struggling. Neither team really wanted to lose. And that's just the way all those games go when two teams are struggling. It's that they sort of want the win, but they're too scared of losing. And then obviously, I don't think we had a few chances in the first half. Fraser Campbell. No, not Fraser Campbell. Ivan Sanchez. Ivan Sanchez probably should have scored when he cut inside and curled it in. But as I just mentioned, that man, people always say Fraser Campbell scored lots of goals against us, and a little mistake left him with a great goal, to be fair to him. But although it was a mistake, I mean, not many times Fraser Campbell whacks his left boot through that and it flies into the corner. But the one thing I'll say after that is we didn't look like, oh, no, the heads didn't drop that game. They were straight back on it and we reacted straight away, which was good to see. And then, that's where a proper number 9, I know he's had a few good games this season and he has been trying hard, but you need goals and your number 9's got to score that chance that Hogan has at the end, especially in a game of that magnitude, because it's a game against another team down there. You have to score that chance in the last few seconds. And it's another one of them 2 points dropped.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know one person who Elliot, who records with us, likes is Charlie Austin. You put your house on him burying that when you're a player of his calibre, especially in this league. But Jamie, do you agree with Dan? What were your views on the game against Huddersfield?
Yeah, I think he was spot on, Dan. I think that he said just there. I think the 11 that he put out, Karanka, I thought the team was right. It was good to see Halovic start. But again, it was just an individual error. But the positive was that we kept our heads up. I think Harley Dean was a bit unfortunate with that mistake, but I don't know. I think it's positive. I think you keep confidence in the team after that performance, but Hogan should have scored that chance at the end, and it's another chance that's gone missing, and it just sums up our season so far. These little chances that we're missing might be the fine margin that keeps us up or down at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a point obviously we discussed before coming on air. Obviously, these chances, if obviously we were to end up going down, you look at 2 points dropped effectively against Huddersfield with Hogan's missed chance. The miss against Norwich just before half time. That on another day, it changes the game if he buries that. Obviously, Dan pointed out Djukovic's headers against Coventry in the first game. Can't remember if his class was home or away in that one, to be honest. But these chances, they can really change the entire course of the season if you put them away, really. And again, it just falls down to us moaning about not having an out-and-out goal scorer that knows where the net is without having to have 5 or 6 bites at the cherry, really.
Yeah, because those chances, though, those chances don't just change that game, do they, necessarily? That Hogan chance don't necessarily just mean, oh, that's 2 extra points. Back in the season when I was talking about them chances, yeah, you can't look at them now because enough games have gone by. But they don't, I'm not just talking about, oh, that should have been an extra 2 points. That can change the next few games. If you get something out of one of them chances and you win a game instead of draw, you could go, you get confidence back up, don't you?
Well, wins breed confidence, and it's as simple as that. And if you go from 1-0 down against a fellow struggling side, and in the last few moments you go and nick it, and climb above them in the process as well. That's going to change. That's going to give their mindset and their outlook on the rest of the season a completely different boost, isn't it? After that, whereas now you look back and Hogan probably kicks himself for missing that chance. And again, is it something we want to be looking at come the end of the season and saying that's where it was decided ultimately? Yeah, I suppose you just don't know, do you? But again, a couple of defensive errors. We'll touch on yesterday's game shortly, but against Huddersfield, we still seem to shoot ourselves in the foot at times, don't we? But I mean, Jamie says Harley Dean's clearance against Huddersfield, but fell straight to. I mean, take nothing away from the finish against Campbell, by the way. Great finish. I don't think Everidge stood a chance the second he left his boot. But again, you're looking at that and you think he'd just put it into the stands for me. Or, just as a defender, that's what you're paid to do, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, I don't like to single out players, but I mean, Harley Dean, this isn't the first time he's done it this season. I mean, there was one at Bournemouth. It's just game after game after game. It seems to be something that Harley Dean does. Is it his positioning? Is it a pass? Is it a clearance that he does wrong? And it's just costing us goals. And I don't know. I'm just pulling my hair out with him at the moment. I just don't think he should be in the starting 11 for now. I would like to see a back four off Colin, Roberts, Clark, Salter and Pedersen. I think that probably is our strongest back four at the moment. And I think Clark Salter, when he come back into the team, he's offered something different. He's offered a bit of pace at the back as well. And I think him and Roberts did they had a good partnership last season as well. But I think when we went on the unbeaten run, they played well together. And yeah, I think Clark Salter and Roberts should be the centre-half pairing in the next game against Bristol for me.
Yeah, I think overall with Harley Dean this season, I think across the 90 minutes, he's performing better in these games than he was last season. But he's still throwing in a costly error. So overall, it's not good enough. Otherwise, like his overall performances are probably a bit better than what they were last season in some of them. But again, like you can't legislate for these errors in every game. They do cost points.
And that I'll say nicely, it definitely doesn't nicely let us talk about yesterday's game, but it does bring us on to yesterday's game. Not really too much to talk about from our point of view, really, but Barnsley's goal did come down to, again, a lousy clearance, for want of a better word, that I managed to break from. And again, another good finish, but it makes me wonder, what are they doing on the train? Well, I don't even think this is down to the training ground at this point. I think he's made that many mistakes now. It's almost like it's part of his routine, 90-minute routine. It's that inevitable that something's going to go wrong. But I don't understand it. The Harley Dean from 2 or 3 years ago under Gary Monk, for example, it almost like a memory now.
I think the big thing that helped him that year was he wasn't the. I mean, he might have acted like a leader that season, but he wasn't the captain, was he? He had a leader next to him. Whereas now, if he's the only leader, if he's the main centre back, I think he might struggle. I think he needs that calm influence next to him, a bit like Clark Salter has been, to be fair. But like whereas Morrison was the leader, wasn't he, of that back line, he would play. He might not necessarily, you see him screaming everywhere like Paul Robinson. He would just play like the leader. And I think he's not been the same player since he's left.
I mean, we say obviously not much to talk about, but Harley Dean had the best chance of the game, in my opinion, as well. In the first 10 minutes, he's header. He's got to hit the target, at least make the keeper work with that header, and he's just gone and put it wide. And again, it's another one of those where you think if he hits the back of the net early on and we go 1-0 up, is that a different game, a different outcome? You can rue these chances, can't you? But Jamie, what did you think of yesterday's game?
I think even looking at the starting 11, I thought it was such a negative mindset. I'm not a believer of this 5-3-2 formation. I think if you're going to play, two up front, you've got to play out and out wingers. So you do need your Sanchez and your Bella out on the wing to get those crosses in, because we do know Hogan and Juki can play well together as a partnership up front if they get the supply. But there weren't much to say about it, and I think to go so negatively defensively against Barnsley doesn't sound very good. I mean, I know they are on a good run. They've won 6 out of 6, and but on paper, are they a better team than us? On our day, definitely not. But hats off to Barnsley; they deserve the win. And I mean, I know we were saying it off air, that Dyke that scored for them yesterday, he's on loan from Orlando City. Why can't we find a player like that? I just pull my hair out against it now. It's mad.
Sorry for my phone going off. I'm going to turn it off.
It's all right.
Probably being lined up for some more podcast deals. I'll get rid of him after this. I mean, it's like you say, that we touched on it before coming on air. Daryl Dog, who scored against us yesterday, came on loan from the MLS. We'd never even dream of looking for players in the MLS, and Swansea signed one as well, I think, didn't they? Is it Strog from the MLS in January has just had a season-ending injury, to be fair, but he looked quite a handful as well in the appearances he's made for them. It just makes you wonder, why aren't we looking at these players? Is there something? It's not like they wouldn't sign for us. Is Barnsley a more, like Jamie says, they're on a good run and they're flying high this season, but is Barnsley a more interesting proposition than joining us on paper?
Well, I would say they're probably not a more interesting proposition. It's just that they're being more proactive about finding these players than we are. I think when you look at these starting 11s, a lot of the time now, I used to know pretty much every team, every championship player. That's how they're going to line up. To be honest, the last 2-3 seasons, maybe I've looked at a lot of teams thinking, I don't really know much about these players, so maybe we've got a better team than them. But what it is really is they're being more modernised than us. We're going for, your either tried and tested and probably plastic players or just random players from the second division of Spain. There's nothing wrong with that because, obviously the odd players like Villalba come up. But we're not doing it nearly enough. We're not doing it nearly enough as, I know people will mock the MLS, but look at that Dyke yesterday, and that weren't a term of abuse, by the way. That was his name. They've gone out and found a player like that, and look at their team. I couldn't tell you most of their team, but they're obviously good enough. But players like Mowat, people taking a chance on these players. This is what we need to do. And you see the good players in League One. We miss the opportunity with them, your Clark Harrises, your Jeff Cutts from Plymouth. I'm not saying he'd be a revelation because I don't know, but we should have realised that signing of Che Adams turned out very good for us. Where did he come from? League One. That happens a lot in the Championship. A lot of the good players in the Championship tend to come from League One. So I feel like we look, but in the wrong places.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Cott was the one I wanted in January all along. Absolutely on fire for Plymouth in the first half of the season. And we said before we come on air, obviously, you mentioned Clark Harris at Peterborough. And these players, would they do it in the Championship? Well, you never know. But if you don't take the chance, you're never going to know, are you? And the other thing is, if we sign this player on a 4 or 5 year deal and we do go down, we already know they're proven in League One, so they can get the goals that we need when we're in that league. If we drop down into League One next season, and who knows what we're going to be like, we could be in all sorts of bother, and you'd imagine players like Sanchez and Etheridge will probably be on their way. You know, your better players will still be stuck with the likes of Harley Dean, I'm guessing. But are these out-and-out goal scorers like Clark Harris going to look at us and go, my chance of championship football is there, should he not go up with Peterborough, for example? Or is he going to go, I'll take my chances for a championship club to come in from this summer? So we're missing the boat on all these players, realistically. I mean, I don't think if we go down, I think the idea of even considering going back for Nisbet, for example, is gone. Would he want to join a League One club? I mean, if we say that Scottish football's an embarrassment, I'm pretty sure the Scottish Prem is probably on par, with the exception of Southampton Rangers, with the Championship. So, in effect, coming to a League One Birmingham is a step down. So, again, you're back at square one, aren't you? Whereas, really, you could have put this money into a proven League One goal scorer, give them the chance, and they know where the net is. It's about giving them the chances, and we do make enough. We make enough decent chances. We just don't take them when we create them.
Yeah, I think one of our problems over the last few years is we've signed a few good players from abroad, like Sanchez. Villalba didn't work out, even though I do think he had ability. Just for one reason or another, he ended up not really wanting to be here. But I think we're going for too many of the same player from the same place. We still need to remember the cause of British football. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I want your flair players from like Spain and everything, but we do need some players who are ready to really fight it out. And San Jose, I know that he's been terrible for us and players like that. I know in a team like Brentford, who control the ball, he'd probably be good for them because he's been used to controlling the ball and everything. But we're not that club. We're not at that point yet. That's a signing to make in when you sort of bring your team along. At the minute, you have one person you have a player like that is just used to possession football, round to loads of people that are just like, oh, I don't really want the ball. So it don't work. That you've got to be more intelligent and outsourcing your scouts to like Scandinavia and everything. Yeah, that's great for the odd gem, but where's the proper scout? Where's your scouts in League One? Because there is obvious talent that literally stares you right in the face, and it's frustrating every year. You see someone like you'll see someone soon. If Peterborough don't go up, you'll see some just average team like, no offence to them, but like a mid-table team like Blackburn or someone go and get them, or Middlesbrough next year if they're still down there and everything. You'll see them go and sign a Clark Harris, and he'll do the bit like Ivan Toney for Brentford. Players like that, I mean, you've got to be looking at.
Adam Armstrong, he was another one. I think he was taken from League One. He's doing well at Blackburn now, isn't he? I mean, the list goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
More than likely, or more often than not, should I say, if you're scoring goals in League One, you score goals in the Championship. With the exception of your teams that come down, and especially the likes of Norwich and Watford this year and Bournemouth, because for the most part, they've kept the core of their Premier League squad. So they are still a quality outfit. There isn't many fantastic teams in the Championship. Anyone can beat anyone on their day. But it's about stringing that run together and getting that confidence. You look at Barnsley. Barnsley shouldn't be anywhere near the playoffs. But if they win their games in hand, they're in there comfortably. So if you're telling me that a Clark Harris couldn't do it in the Championship, for example, these people that say, oh, I'm not sure about him, or I'm not sure about Jeff Cott. Why? Why not? They're scoring goals against players that are as good as a lot of Championship defenders, realistically.
And we're not in the position to go and grab someone from the Premier League on loan, are we? No, because
and especially when you look
why would I want to join there?
And you look at where we are in the league. The teams that are in and around us are the teams that are flirting with relegation to League One, just like us. Their squads aren't any better than these League One players. They're still a League One side. Last season, no one even thought they were a League One side. They were favourites for relegation.
Yeah.
You know, so you think that your Jeff Cotts and your Clark Harrises that score goals against these sides, and what you need when you're fighting relegation is goal scorers against the teams in and around you.
Yeah,
I couldn't care less if Hogan scored 2 away at Bournemouth because we still lost. I want Hogan to score 2 away at Huddersfield. I want Hogan to get me a goal against Coventry. You know, and he's not doing it. But I mean, that's just me. It's just annoying to think that, you know, like you say, these players out there in League One, if you look at them, they're quality players. They're not just the strikers either. Ben Whiteman at Doncaster, who's gone to Preston to replace Pearson, brilliant player. Absolutely brilliant. An absolute steal. I don't know why we didn't look at him in the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
I've got a talking point for you. Do you think Raheem Harper and Valerie have added value to our team? I'm not saying they haven't, but I just want to see what your opinions were.
I like Valerie.
Do you think he's better than Colin?
No.
So has he added value?
It gives you a better depth. Is he better than Dacres Cogley, who's your other option at right back? Absolutely. For me, it gives you that bit of depth. This concept that Valerie can play anywhere, I don't agree with that. He's a right-sided player. Is he better going forward or is he better defensively? That's still unknown. But if you take him off his face value as you've signed him as a right back, is he better than Colin? No. Is he better than what we've got if Colin was to get injured? Yeah, I think so. Raheem Harper. I mean, yesterday, someone needed to tell him not to do his best Check and Doy impression, especially during that first half. But I think you watch him in the games where he's played alongside Sunjic and Gardner in the previous weeks, he's head and shoulders above other players that we'd have had in that position. If you keep it simple for him, let him have a few players that he can just pick the ball up, head up, turn around, knock it on and go, he is better. But yesterday against Barnsley, he was, especially in that first half, he was awful. Reminded me a bit of, and I know he's nothing to do with us, but do you remember when Renato Sanchez was on loan at Swansea and he played a pass to the pass to the electric billboard?
Yeah.
That's what he reminded me of yesterday, especially in that first half. But
yeah, I do agree with Kieran there. I think they might have not significantly improved us, which in the situation we was in, you'd be hoping to sign players like that, wouldn't you? Like QPR signed Charlie Austin. Look at him take him right up the league. But so they weren't the best signings, don't get me wrong, but I think he's added. I think that's good depth to have Valerie. Again, it's a bit of a shame to sign a lone player that isn't better than what you've already got. But yeah, I agree that he's better than Dacres Cogley, because Dacres Cogley's only been solid in a few games. It might be unfair because he hasn't had loads of chances, but I've never felt too confident. And then Harper, the first 3 games maybe that he played, I think he done really well. The first half against Huddersfield was sloppy. I think he got better in the second half. And then yesterday, he weren't quite at it. But I do think he's a bit like, once Kieftenbeld was gone, I think anyone else that would have played there, it would have been Clayton, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, God.
It would have been Clayton or San Jose. And again, technical wise, obviously before joining here, San Jose would have been a good footballer, but he's not done it here. So I think Raheem Harper was probably the signing that was worth more. But it's just a shame that we couldn't sign people that had the chance to take us out the table, up the table, a bit like a Charlie Austin signing. But we never seem to make those signings, do we?
No, that's the thing. And I think like Sanchez, I think he brought the subs on a bit too late last night as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he might have made the right subs that time, obviously, to bring Bella and Sanchez off. I know people were disappointed that they didn't start, but again, I said it last week. I'm not defending him by any means for this, but I'm saying there's more context to reasons why they didn't start. They didn't start just because he goes, I don't want to play him. Sanchez has been playing with a groin injury, apparently, and you've got it. Sports scientists work at the club, don't they? They tell you how many games, how many minutes they've played, who's most likely of injury. And if you take one of those wingers off, I think he said it a few weeks ago, Lico filled in with a bit of doubt. So leaves you with no choice to change the formation. I was really frustrated about that because I felt like we was going to lose. But with context, when you think one was playing with a groin injury the last few games, you don't want to get him injured. And two, if you bring on people like Lico from the start, he's not going to do the job that either of them two do anyway. So I think it's a lose-lose for him. Again, not defending him because I think he's made mistakes this season, and sometimes he's looked like a desperate man, just trying to do anything. But I do also think it's not as simple as, we didn't want to play the two wingers and stuff like that. But yeah, we've just got to, even if it's just a bit of luck this season, just got to get something going.
It's like you
But
say
then
as
we've
well,
got
though,
to build on the team.
Sanchez playing with a knock for the past few weeks as well. You go and aggravate that and make it worse, and he's out for the season. Then what? And what are these fans going to say there? You know, these fans that are on Karanka's case. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve criticism. Everyone at that club at the minute deserves some sort of criticism in one way or another for whatever it is. But these fans, if he plays Sanchez and he goes and ruptures his groin or whatever it might be, and he's out for the season, then these people will go, we shouldn't have started. You shouldn't have started Sanchez if he knew he was picking up and he picked up a knock. So he's fighting a losing battle regardless. And like I say, I'm not saying he's immune to criticism. He does deserve it. Everyone does. The substitutions were a bit late. Yeah, it is frustrating seeing all these changes just when you think you've got a settled formation and a side that you're strongest 11 in a sense. But sometimes, like Dan says, these changes have to be made. The games are coming thick and fast. I don't care if there's an international break coming up. It doesn't excuse the fact that you can have a passenger 2 or 3 players that aren't fully fit. You still need an 11 that are 100% fit and ready to go for that game. It doesn't matter whether you give them a week or a month or however long they've had to prepare. So I understood the change for Sanchez. He said in his press conference Sanchez was a doubt. It is frustrating when you think, again, we go with the 2 up top, but you go with the 2 up top, Duke, if Hogan's going to feed off Duke, if the ball into Duke isn't there, then that's your attacking threat gone, isn't it? Straight away. You nullify yourself. You take yourself out of the game.
Yeah, but also
Sanchez
the players have got to stand solid.
Yeah. That's a big thing, isn't it? The thing is as well, why did he not put Halovic on then? If you knew Sanchez had a knock? Or why would you not put him on? He's probably our most talented player in the team, isn't he? And you're 1-0 down. That's another question mark for me.
The thing that makes me wonder, though, is Halilovic is injured every other week, isn't he? So has he picked up a knock again?
He was on the bench yesterday.
But that's the thing. Is he match fit? Is he ready? Was he ready to go? Was he fit to play? I know he was on the bench, but you never know, do you, really? You'd like to think there's reasons why these substitutions aren't and these changes aren't made.
Yeah, again, like I'm not defending him by any length here by saying, this is the reason why he didn't play him and everything. But there is more to him just going, I don't want to play these players. Yeah, the Halilovic one, I agree with there. The Sanchez and Bella ones I could understand because Sanchez, once you take Sanchez off and haven't got another winger, at least in that midfield 3, probably should have played Halilovic just for that bit of creative spark. But I think that's the one that I can understand. But our biggest crime isn't dropping these players all the time because everyone needs rest, however good or bad they are. Our biggest crime is not having backups for those positions, good enough backups that we can just go. Because every team needs depth. And the second we lose Sanchez or Bella, we've got no one there.
You see when we was linked with Jack Clark in the summer though as well. As soon as we was linked with Jack Clark, everyone's going, another winger. And now look at us crying out.
Everyone goes, but he's not going to play. You need to sign players for the bench as well. That's the way it works. You need people because it's all well and good going. But you don't. Yeah, but he will need to play, and he's not going to play. You need players for the bench because now, when Sanchez can't play, it's that extreme that because Lico hasn't been good enough. We sort of have to change the formation, whether he goes to a diamond in midfield or the 5 at the back. it leaves us with not real, because we don't have anyone who can replace Sanchez.
No, I think you look at, I mention them all the time because I said what I'd expect from a full-back or an attacking wing-back is like Trent and Robertson for Liverpool last season. But talk about strength on the bench. Look at Liverpool's bench. Does that, with these injuries that they've got at the minute, you'd expect that is the prime example of you need to strengthen your bench as well, because who have you got to fall back on? They've got Origi. Do they fill you with confidence as a Liverpool fan? I wouldn't have thought so. And Naby Keita is £63 million. I watched him today against Fulham. It run around like headless chicken for 90 minutes.
Yeah, even the best teams in the game need squad depth because, when everyone's fit, it's all well and good and you look a threat. It can only literally take one player. And, we know we're near their standards, but just think about Laporte last season for Man City. They should be doing better this season, as you mentioned. Liverpool, again, I'm not comparing them to Liverpool by any, but even the best, what I'm saying is even the best teams need that depth because if one key player goes missing, who are you going to replace them with?
That's what I mean. Obviously, I'm not comparing us to Liverpool, but in the context of it, in saying, you need the strength in depth, they're the prime example at the minute with all the injuries they're carrying at the minute. But, that bench does need to be stronger. But then the flip side of it, like you say, with Halilovic sat on the bench, when our bench has got some talent on it, they do need to come on the pitch. They need to be on the pitch, especially when you're chasing a game. But like I say, whether there's another reason why he didn't come on, I don't know. I know he's made of bloody cardboard, isn't it, at the minute, Halilovic? But I mean, I'm pretty sure he used to play on the right-hand side. So could he not have come on as the winger?
Yeah, I suppose he could. It all depends on whether people view him as if he's got enough pace and everything, because it became a bit like Hotter afterwards. After people found Hotter out when he was there, he became quite easy to defend against, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any pace.
Just a one-trick pony, wasn't it? Just onto your left foot.
Look, don't get me wrong, Sanchez is similar with onto your left foot, but he's got pace to back that up. So he can still divide people. But the case is, if we manage to stay up this season, we've got to really book our ideas up in the transfer market with depth more than anything. I know it's hard to sign people with players for the bench because if they know they're going on the bench, but even if you sign better players than what we have now, at least the players that we've got on the pitch will be on the bench. You have to have depth because without depth, as I said beforehand, you're one injury away from a crisis.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, only the one game this week. Got one game coming up this week. So before we go, I'll just get your predictions. Bristol City at home on Saturday the 13th. Jamie, I'll come to you first. What do you think for that game?
I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to be positive here. 1-1.
A 1-1 is positive. How the multi have fallen.
I know, it's bad, isn't it? I mean, it's a tough one, really. I mean, if you look at our next fixtures, we've got Bristol, Reading, Watford, Swansea, Brentford, Stoke. They're all massive games, so they've got to get some momentum from somewhere. I mean, Bristol are a beatable team, but is the confidence there? I don't know.
Usually, look, the decent games, Reading, difficult games, Reading, Swansea, Bristol City and Stoke, but they're all at home. And in given different circumstances, you'd say 4 home games out your next 6, that's your chance to pick up points. But it's not really, is it, for us? We'd rather them games be away from home, surely.
Yeah. But we do tend to play better against the better teams, don't we? So,
Flip side of that, Bristol City, Reading, Swansea and Stoke unbeaten in the 4 away games against them.
Yeah, I suppose. But the Bristol one for me is a weird one to even predict because when you asked me before these last 2 games, Nigel Pearson turned up, didn't he? Got 2 real big wins. Now they've lost the last 2, but with him in charge, I still feel like they wouldn't lose 3 in a row straight away. So I'm expecting some sort of reaction, and I think we'll be back to one of our better 11s next week. Well, there'll be no excuse then because I think, isn't it the last game before the international break or something? There's an international break coming up soon.
I think it's at the end of this month. So you've got Bristol City on Saturday, Reading on the Wednesday, Watford the following Saturday, the 20th, and then the next game is the 2nd of April.
Oh, okay. So we've got 3 games still. So, but with a week off, there's no excuse unless there's any injuries to not have your best players on the pitch. So I think we'll try and perform a bit like we did against QPR on the front foot, because we've done this a bit last season. Yeah, when we started to struggle playing the passing football, you know, that run of the 11 games unbeaten, even though about 95% of them were 1-1 draws. The first half of each game, we was out flying out the traps, and that was how we was against QPR. I feel like and Norwich. I feel like we'll try and play like that again now at home, take the game to them. But I do think, I think it'll probably be, I agree with Jamie, a 1-1 draw, because they've got to react as well, haven't they? Under the new manager, Nigel Pearson, he'll be wanting the reaction after 2 defeats in a row. So it'll be another tricky game, but we've got a tricky run and we've got to pick up some points somewhere. So why not start on Saturday?
I'm going to stick my neck on the line. And I'll say 1-0. And I won't say who to, so I can look like I was right in the next podcast. No, I think it's giddy optimism more than anything, but I feel like it is a tough run of fixtures. But just something, I mean, I had the same feeling yesterday, so I probably am just pissing in the wind for all intents and purposes, but I feel like we're going to get something in the next few games. And when I look at who there is, Watford, I don't think we're going to take anything from that. Reading, I don't think they're playing brilliantly, Reading, but they're picking up results.
They're not. Yeah, they're in a bit of a mixed position at the minute, Reading.
But then when we play them at our place, we always lose to them, and then we always beat them at their place. So then the only thing that leads me to think we can get something is Bristol City, because it's my only other option to say we're going to get something from. So yeah, that's my. But
it's a case of having to, isn't it? As well, we've got to pick up points somewhere.
Got to. There's no other option for us.
It doesn't matter who we're playing against when it comes to the last few games. You've got to pick up points.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll all sit down and record again after that game, so we'll see what happens and who was right and who was wrong. But thanks both for joining me anyway. If you like, you can subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on the socials at BCFC Media. Check out the website, www.bcfcmedia.co.uk. And until then, speak to you soon.